Good morning, PSW staff, clients, friends. Join us for Tuesday, Classical Tuesday. We had a lot of fun looking at your film scoring assignment, Dick Tracy. So, as we know, get the results into me today, this morning, by noon today, and we'll see your results for Wednesday because I'll be out Thursday and Friday, and I do want to show you guys' film scoring results for that. So, so if you could do that, that'd be great. So today we're going to look at a composer that's still alive. That's he's old, but he's still alive, and I do like his music a lot, and it's somebody that we should look at. We looked at Schoenberg and Strauss the last few weeks. Strauss, very romantic composer, but modern romantic. Schoenberg does what? He gets rid of tonality and becomes atonal. But this guy is not doing this. So this will be a very tonal class. In fact, one of the main pieces that he's famous for that we're going to look at is pretty much all in the key of C major, which lasts about 40 minutes. Think that you could play it in one key, one chord, mostly one chord. It goes into a few others, but for the most part, it's called in C. So we'll get to that. So today we're going to look at, minimalist composer Terry Riley. We know the term minimalist. We've done quite a few classes on it. I do like minimalism music because it combined classical and jazz and pop into a new art form, American art form, mostly American art form, and that to me is interesting. These guys, Steve Reich, John Adams, Philip Glass, we've done classes on those people. They were more influenced by jazz, by Coltrane, by bebop in the 50s and 60s, rather than Schoenberg. So Terry Riley, born in 1935, American composer and musician, known as kind of one of the first minimalists. So I mentioned those guys earlier because he is one of the first people that came up with this art form. I mean, imagine coming up with your own art form, not only writing your own music, that's hard enough for people that write their own music, creating a whole new style of music, that's unbelievable. Just to recap, minimalism, kind of repetitive patterns, right? But they shift. They're changing all the time, but it sounds like it's not. So it's not the same things. A lot of pulses, and we're going to hear a lot of pulses, patterns, but very consonant harmony, not dissonant. So it's very pleasant sounding harmony. So that's kind of what minimalism is, right? So let's go up to Colfax, which is way up there, up north in California, where he's born. And Riley, raised in California, Northern California, began studying composition and solo piano in the 50s. He becomes friends with another minimalist composer, Lamont Young, and the two of them really invent minimalism. I was going to do Lamont Young, but I might, I don't know. Terry Riley's a little bit more musical. I mean, that's subjective, but to me. But both of them kind of focused in on drones. And I know sometimes that can sound, not drones, sounding drones, long sustained notes. Now I know today that doesn't sound really innovative, but for the 50s, that music, and we've talked about Brian Eno and ambient music, he's gonna be influenced by Terry Riley and Lamont Young. That's how they get their style, because we're trying to figure out how did they just, you're just not like kind of born with your own style. You're hearing other kinds of music, and then you're using the technique to get your own style, and that technique could be, well, instead of all these changing notes, what if we just had a long sustained note and we would see what sounds came off of that, and that's a starting place. So he's one of the founders of that. So in the 60s he travels throughout Europe, playing piano bars, becoming very influenced by jazz and also Indian music. Indian music is a lot of, and that's a lot, I mean, Philip Glass studied Indian music. That has a lot to do with a lot of minimalist influence from Indian music because of repetitive patterns. They already have that in their music already. That's Eastern music and Eastern notation. And so Terry Riley, Philip Glass, those guys studied Eastern music and incorporated Western techniques, Western music, to come up with their own music. So he starts getting into this repetitive music and tape music where he's looping things, and delay systems where he's delaying musical things. Very innovative for that time. People weren't doing that, especially, and we'll take a look at other music that was coming out. So very, very, very different. In 1964, he writes the big song the big piece, in C. And yeah, that's in the key of C, obviously, and this is really what puts him on the So, I mean, it's drenched in just the triad of the C major triad, right? And the pulses. So in C consists of 53, there's 53 short musical phrases. So already we're looking at, do you remember a long time ago we looked at Janáček? Janáček kind of took music and instead of these long, 20, 30, 40 bar phrases, he would make them into maybe 8-bar phrases. So now we're getting into like 2-bar phrases and 1-bar phrases. So I'm just thinking of the evolution of music. So now we're really getting minimal. So repeated eighth notes, that's mostly what we're hearing on a, pianos, marimbas. It's been scored for many different things. And you can hear the metronome click almost. They're almost, and that's the pulse. And that's, Steve Reich is definitely going to use the pulse in his music, and we know all about Steve Reich. We did several classes about him. So this idea of this rhythmic shifting pattern, this is really taking off as a new kind of thing. And in 1964, I mean, so this is really radical music as opposed to what's going on in 1964. The world's listening to I Want to Hold Your Hand by the Beatles. They're listening to She Loves You. Okay, so the Beatles it's Beatlemania here. So who's listening to this music? I don't know. And this is also the same year that Umbrellas of Cherbourg comes out. We have to tie this all in together. And we did a class on Umbrellas of Cherbourg, the jazz opera, Michel Legrand's jazz opera. But there's also, so that's pop and jazz music. Classical music is not doing this because this is minimalism. Classical music, Benjamin Britten's still writing. We did a class on him. Aaron Copland is still alive and writing. Milhaud is still writing. So just in different parts of the world, all this music is going on. His other piece that was really influential was in 1969. This was a huge music shift, sea change of music and culture, but also everything is changing in a rainbow and curved air. And that is, you're going to hear a lot of people, artists like Pink Floyd, Velvet Underground, they're taking from minimalist composers too. So it's also influencing other genres of music. Very psychedelic, very far out. So I just wanted to kind of share those two pieces with you, and a lot of, great composer, Terry Riley. So still alive, still writing. Hope you enjoyed this. Tomorrow we'll see your film scoring results for Dick Tracy, and that's that. Okay, love you, miss you, and see you tomorrow.